Welcome to the employer education session. Today we'll provide an overview of in-year reporting, including retirement, termination, pre-retirement death, long-term disability, and change of employment information. This session is part of our employer education program, which is a key component to managing risk to the plan and is tied to the employer attestation of compliance initiative. Presenting with me today is Christine Wachira and Joyce Zhang, who are pension analysts with Employer Services. Bill Hurley, team lead for Employer Services, Maria Alero, senior pension analyst, Joseph Barone, and Shravan Bhatt, pension analysts for Member Services, are joining us to assist with any questions you may have. Here is our agenda for today. I will now pass it over to Christine.
Thank you, Sandy. Let's first look at retirements. Before initiating the retirement process, it's important to note when members become retirement eligible. For DB Prime members, retirement eligibility is based on age and service. If a member is age 55 or over, or is age 50 with 20 years of service, the member is eligible to retire. For DB Plus members, retirement eligibility is based on age only. If a member is age 50 or over, they are eligible to retire. For members with both DB Prime and DB Plus benefits, they must start collecting their lifetime pension under both plan designs at the same time. If they have reached age 50 but have less than 20 years of pensionable service, they can still retire with an immediate lifetime pension. However, the bridge benefit under the DB Prime plan design will not be payable until age 55. If they don't meet this criteria, they will leave employment, and they leave employment, it is considered a termination. For example, a DB Prime member may quit their job at an employer at age 56, to pursue another career opportunity. The CAP plan will calculate a retirement benefit, but not a termination benefit, since the member is over age 55. You should pay particular attention to the age of the member and the service accrued for DB Prime members when filling out an application form. If the transaction is completed through PAL, it will prompt you to complete the appropriate application. This slide shows us the retirement process. To initiate the retirement process, complete a pension application via PAL. We calculate the member's pension and send the retirement package to the member within 30 days of receiving the pension application. When the member returns the completed retirement option document with the supporting documentation to the plan, if they have opted for an immediate pension, we will set up the member's monthly pension on the next available payment date. If members are interested in a service purchase, transfer calculation, or 2017 strike purchase, this must be completed well before the retirement process is initiated. This will help to ensure the pension is paid on time. It is important for the pension applications to be sent to us in a timely manner. It is recommended that you submit the pension application 3 months prior to the date of retirement. The reason for this is that it gives us enough time to review the application and process the calculation. It also gives the member sufficient time to review the package and make their election. To ensure new retirees receive their first pension payment on time, they must submit the completed retirement option documents and the supporting documentation prior to the processing deadline. You can refer to the payment schedule in the employer manual for deadlines and pension payment dates. A link is provided in this slide. If you have already submitted a pension application and realize there are changes to be made, you must complete a revised pension application and submit it to CAT before we can adjust any member's benefit. However, pension revisions have thresholds for recalculating. For DB Prime members, the pension will be recalculated if the earnings change by more than $150 or if the service changes by more than 2 working days. The recalculation threshold for DB Plus members will require the total of the employer and member contributions to be more than $140 different. Vacation pay for DB Prime members is a pay that they may receive in lieu of time at their retirement date. The member has a choice to make contributions and add the vacation pay to their pensionable earnings for the year. The vacation pay is only pensionable if in the year the member retires. Only vacation pay earned in the current benefit year is pensionable. Any carry forward vacation pay from previous benefit years is not pensionable. We want to provide some clarification on the last day worked and retirement dates that are required in the pension application. In most cases, the last day worked is the same as the last day for which the member works for the employer. There may be some special situations. For example, a member may be provided with the pensionable severance payment. In these cases, the last day worked is the same as the last day which the member was paid for their work and made contributions to the plan. The retirement date is the last day of the month in which the member made contributions to the plan. To start our retirement in PAL, select the pension application link on the left-hand sidebar and search for the member. After selecting the member, you will be taken to the pension application page. Provide all required information. Once complete, the employer can either save the transaction or proceed with submitting the application to the plan. After you have successfully saved the pension application, you will be automatically redirected to the dashboard of the portal. You will be able to see the pension application in your recent activities section and in the transactions in process section. You can also retrieve the pension application you saved from the transaction in process section. Saved transactions that have not been submitted to CAT will expire approximately 45 days after the date it was last saved. A system-generated email notification will be sent 30 days after the transaction was last saved. If the transaction is not resaved or submitted to the plan, a final reminder will be sent 15 days later. If not actioned, the transaction will be purged from PAL. After you've submitted the transaction, the pension application will appear in your dashboard under the Transactions Sent to CAT section and in your Recent Activity section. If you need to revise a previously submitted pension application, open the original application submitted to CAT. Under the Revise Information section, check the box for Are you reporting a data change? This will unlock all the data fields. Proceed with updating the applicable information, and once complete, run validations and resubmit to CAT. Please note that the pension applications can be revised up to May 31st of the year after retirement. For instance, if a member retires April 30th, the pension application can be revised up to May 31st of the following year. Let's now review the termination process. What defines a termination from the CAT pension plan? A member is terminated when they end their employment with all their CAT employers and are not eligible for retirement. For DB Prime members, eligibility for termination is based on the age and service of a member. If a member is not yet eligible for immediate retirement at their termination date, that is, they have not attained age 55 or they do not qualify for the 50-20 rule, the member will be eligible for a termination benefit from the plan. For DB Plus, eligibility is based on age of the member. If they have not yet attained age 50, they are eligible for a termination benefit from the plan. The first stage of termination is extension of membership. Following the termination of employment, a member who is not eligible to retire at the date of termination will enter the 24-month extension of membership period called EOM. When a member terminates employment with their employer, they are not terminated from the CAT plan. A member who works at more than one employer must terminate employment at all employers before being eligible for a benefit. In this case, the 24-month extension period will begin when they terminate from their last place of work. Annual pension statements are sent to members during their EOM period. Similar to active members, they are due to members by June 30th. During the 24-month extension of membership period, members have a few options. If a member starts employment with another CAT employer, the member will continue to accrue a benefit under the plan. Contributions to CAT must resume at the enrollment date. A member can transfer the value of their CAT pension benefit to a new employer's pension plan, provided the employer is a non-participating employer with a registered Canadian pension plan that agrees to accept the funds. This is commonly referred to as a transfer under the Pensions Benefits Act or as a PBA transfer. We require a written request from the member in order to initiate this type of transfer. Lastly, the member can start their monthly CAT pension benefit if they become retirement eligible within the 24-month extension period. Between the time they first become retirement eligible and the end of the 24-month EOM period, the member can choose to start their monthly CAT pension by contacting us. If the member does not contact us, we will send them a retirement package at the end of their EOM period. The pension amount in this retirement package will be calculated based on the provisions for retirement from active status. At the end of the 24-month extension of membership period, a termination option package will be mailed to the member. Essentially, they will have three options: defer their pension to start at age 65 or sooner with a reduction, or transfer the commuted value to their own personal locked-in retirement savings vehicle, or transfer to another employer's pension plan, if they accept the transfers. If a member elects a deferred pension at the end of their EOM period and subsequently returns to work either part-time or full-time, they must re-enroll immediately. It is up to the member to notify you if they were previously enrolled with another CAT employer. Once a member has been paid a commuted value payment, no further benefit is payable from the CAT plan. This slide illustrates the termination process steps. To start the termination process, the employer completes a termination of employment process through PAL. If you are trying to complete a termination process for someone who is retirement eligible, you will receive a pop-up notification prompting you to complete a pension application. CAT reviews a termination application before sending the commencement of EOM letter to the member explaining the options during the 24-month extension period. At the end of the 24-month extension, we send the option document to the member. The member is responsible to return the completed form along with the required documentation for us to set up payment on the next available payment date. If members do not respond to the option package within 6 months, they will be deemed deferred and will be no longer eligible to transfer their commuted value to a locked-in vehicle. All deferred members receive deferred annual statements by June 30th. This is a quick reminder of the rules for vacation pay that we reviewed earlier for retirements. The same rules apply for terminations as they do for retirements. We want to provide some clarification on the last day worked and termination dates that are required for the termination application. The last day worked should be the last day which the member worked and made contributions to the plan. The termination date should be the last day of employment with the employer. In some cases, the member may have a termination date that is later than the day they last contributed. This may occur when a contract ends, but the employment relationship is still active until there is formal separation of employment after the last contract. To submit a termination in PAL, select the Termination of Employment link on the left-hand sidebar and complete the required information and submit to the plan. Similar to the pension application process, termination transactions can be saved, submitted, and revised in PAL.
Okay, now let's review the pre-retirement death process. For pre-retirement death, employers are responsible for reporting the death of an active member and members who may be on a leave or on disability. For pre-retirement death benefits would also apply to members who have terminated and on an extension of membership from the plan or are members with a deferred pension with the plan. Survivor benefits are paid according to a specific order of eligibility. The eligible spouse is always the primary recipient of the survivor pension benefit. For members employed in Ontario and Nova Scotia that have no eligible spouse and have eligible children, the children will receive a children's pension. If the member has neither an eligible spouse nor eligible children when they die, their designated beneficiaries or estate will receive the pre-retirement death benefit in a lump sum payment. For members employed in other jurisdictions outside of Ontario and Nova Scotia that do not have an eligible spouse, their designated beneficiaries or estate will receive the pre-retirement death benefit in a lump sum payment. To report a pre-retirement death, complete a death benefit application and submit it to CAT. If there is an eligible spouse, the spouse will provide proof of age for the member and themselves. They will also have to provide proof of death and proof of marriage or declaration of common law status. They can provide this document directly to CAT or to the employer when they sign the application form. We will calculate the survivor benefits and mail the pre-retirement death option package to the member's eligible survivor. The eligible survivor will forward the completed signed option document and the supporting documentation to CAT. We will process the payment once we have received all the completed forms. The death benefit will not be processed until proof of death and member's proof of age have been received. Please keep in mind, vacation pay is not pensionable in the year of a member's death, so this shouldn't be included for DB Prime members. A pension adjustment is not required in the member's year of death. The death benefit application can be found in the employer manual under the Forms section. Now let's review the process for reporting members who are placed on disability. A DB Prime member who is disabled or is in receipt of earnings under workers' compensation benefits will stop contributing to the plan and will continue to accrue pensionable service and related benefits based on their deemed earnings. A member who is receiving partial earnings under the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act Ontario continues to accrue pensionable service and related benefits based on the member's deemed earnings for the first 12 months the member receives these benefits. After the 12 months contribution waiver period, a member receiving a partial loss of earnings benefit is required to recommence contributing to the plan based on their contributory earnings actually being received. The member's employer will also make the required employer contributions in respect of that member. For DB Prime members on disability leaves during the year, you will need to report this event to the CAT plan using the appropriate notice of LTD WSIB form. Download the applicable forms from our employer manual, complete and submit via Message Center. When the member returns from disability, submit the notice of LTD WSIB form to advise of the LTD stop date so we can update the member's record. Please ensure that the LTD start date does not overlap with the last day worked. Provide the current salary rate for the member at the time their LTD started. This is important as we use this to determine the deemed earnings for the LTD period. A member retiring at age 65 does not require a notice of LTD WSIB form to provide the LTD stop date. If a DB Plus member becomes disabled and begins a disability leave, they are eligible to continue to earn a pension benefit under the disability provisions of the CAT pension plan if they are determined to be disabled and in receipt of either long-term disability benefit through an employer-sponsored provider or benefits under the workers' compensation plan. If a member wishes to contribute during the leave, they will contribute based on the disability earnings they receive from your insurance provider or through a workers' compensation plan. The member must elect to contribute, and appropriate disability notice and election forms would be required. All contributions made by the member will also receive matching employer contributions. If a member elects to not contribute, they will not receive any matching employer contributions during the disability period. If the member returns, this period will not be eligible for purchase. Members receiving disability benefits under the Ontario's Workplace Safety and Insurance Act will stop contributing to DB Plus for the first 12 months and will continue to earn a pension during this period. After this 12 months period, the member will be given the option to contribute to the plan based on actual earnings received from WSIB. We will notify the employer when the contribution waiver period is coming to an end. You should provide the member with an election form at this time. For DB Plus members that go on disability leaves during the year, you will need to report this event to the CAT plan using the appropriate start notice and election forms. You will also need to work with the member to ensure they have information needed to make a decision about continuing to contribute to the plan. Download the applicable forms from our employer manual and complete the appropriate sections. The member must also make their election on this form, electing whether to contribute or not while on disability. If the member elects to contribute, you will collect the member's contributions and submit them and the employer's contribution to CAT. When the member returns to work, download the applicable stop notice and election form to complete and submit to CAT. You can locate the disability forms in the employer manual in the Forms section under the Disability Forms drop-down as shown on this slide. Now let's review the change of employment information process. To start the change of employment information process in PAL, Set the change point. The change of on the left hand, also access the change of employment form while viewing member's profile. The change of employment form advises the plan of any changes to the member's employment information. Changes would include employment type, occupation, or changes to the member's date of hire or date of enrollment with the employer and the date of these changes. If the member is changing plan designs, the employer must provide the payroll information for the period prior to the effective date of change. As a reminder, under the plan, there are two types of active statuses. There is an ACT active, which is used when a member either joins the plan or returns to active status from a leave. The other type of active status is IDT active. This active status is used by the plan when the members transfer between the plan designs. For instance, full-time status to OTRFT status or vice versa.
So this concludes our presentation for today. Our next session is scheduled for June 2nd and will be on enrollment eligibility for plan members. Invitations will be sent out 2 weeks prior to the session. We ask that you provide your employer pension analyst with a list of everyone who attended today's session so that we can track this information on your behalf. This information will be provided back to you quarterly and again at the end of the year as part of the attestation process. When you leave today's meeting, you'll have an opportunity to complete a brief survey. We would really appreciate you taking the time to complete the survey, as this helps us to make the sessions more valuable to you. Thanks again for attending and have a great day, everyone.